This is your Weather Authority team bringing you another severe weather update. We do have severe weather ongoing in the River Valley, and storms are continuing to push into the River Valley at this hour. Damaging wind gusts are going to be the main threat. Continue to push to the south and east, and there's a severe thunderstorm warning goes for Logan, Polk, and Scott counties until 11:45. And these storms are starting to pick up strength a little bit. See these brighter reds? These brighter reds here are indicating very strong winds. And if we do a couple queries, you can see 64-mile-an-hour winds. You can see the greens are really bright. That's that outflow pushing out from away from the storm, and we need a balanced inflow-outflow in order to maintain a tight couplet and see better chances for rotation, Dan.
Dan, I'm actually live outside at Creekside Park in Farmington, and when you combine rising temperatures and the amount of people going outdoors as it warms up, you can get thunderstorms, and thunderstorms and people can be a deadly combination. If you're out on your bike on the greenway, if you're driving in a car, you might think if a tornado is headed your way to take shelter under an overpass. This is not a good idea and can be downright deadly. Big, fat, white flakes. And now, of course, the system has quickly moved off to the east. It's hard to believe because it was 70 degrees yesterday. I caught up with one of those local workers to see what he had to say about the snow.
It's Arkansas. Arkansas has always been like this.
I don't see any Teslas out here, but I imagine that they've got some good lights on the front to get through that fog if they needed to.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, of course, you want to use your low beam. You do not want to switch your high beam.
Right.
When you switch to high beam headlights, Tavares, you scatter all of that water droplet and the light from it back into your eyes. And so it makes it harder to see. So make sure you do not use your highs. Make sure you're using your low beam headlights. And if you have fog lights, those are going to help as well. Alex Bogard up early this morning sent us in this gorgeous photo of what looks like alien spaceships, right? This is actually the fog laying right along those valleys. And then once you get up above it, clear skies. In fact, you could even see the moon. And absolutely beautiful photo. Thank you so much, Alex, for sending us this from Centerton. It is also chilly this morning. Upper 30s across much of northwest Arkansas, mid 40s across the River Valley. Everybody feeling a little bit of the chill to the air. Current visibilities up to 1.7 miles in Bentonville, or I should say down, because we actually have been decreasing through the last couple of minutes. And you can see down to 0.3 mile visibility in both Fayetteville and Fort Smith, half a mile in Russellville. It is very foggy out there, folks. Make sure to take a little bit of extra time. And again, use those low beam headlights. 0.3 mile visibility both in Drakefield and Rogers. 10 out of 10, though, in Springdale. You can actually see pretty good at the airport. And then you can see 0.8 mile visibility there at X&A. And so it could be a little foggy on those windy back roads as you're getting close to the airport. Satellite and radar, everything's clear, and that's because high pressure is in charge. However, as we went through the day yesterday, that was not the case. Look at all the tornado reports, unfortunately, reported, and a lot of these were strong, violent tornadoes. Unfortunately, there were deaths. There were tornado emergencies for the south side of Birmingham. It was a very busy day, and like I said, unfortunately, there were fatalities. Hopefully, we see a more quiet next couple of weeks for our spring. We're not even in the most active part of severe weather season. That's typically going to be May or April into May. And so, yeah, dealing with fog this morning, no severe weather today. Absolutely beautiful. 10 out of 10 recommend the afternoon with lots of sunshine in the forecast. Much of the same story for much of the day on Saturday. Now, notice I said much of the day because as we go into the evening, a front is coming at us from the northwest along I-44 around 4 o'clock. We could start to see some storms develop and erupt in that instability that builds through those mild temperatures. So the mild temperatures and the moisture coming back, that's a little bit of a cost. We could see some storms as we go into the evening. So make your plans maybe late morning into the early parts of the afternoon. Later afternoon to the evening, you're going to be watching out for some of those storms. So 40% chance, and that's going to be mainly in the evening. We do have the fog this morning. Right around 70 degrees is what will warm to. Low 50s for the evening. Upper 70s for the day tomorrow. Absolutely gorgeous for most of the afternoon, and then again the evening we'll be dealing with those storms. Front comes at us, and that is why we see those storms. So that passes early Sunday morning. Most of Sunday going to be sunny, mid 60s behind it. And then as we go into next week, we see another front Tuesday night into Wednesday. Notice the low 70s down to the mid 50s. As we go into our Wednesday, we can see some more isolated storms on our Monday as well. And about 20% chance of that because some models have it and some don't. Now, what we do have is a nice warm day for the River Valley tomorrow, right around 80 degrees. We might be just below it, but still going to be a very, very nice next couple of afternoons for us. Well, we have more KNWA today coming up after this, so you're going to want to stick around with us.
It's time for another weather word of the week, and this week we're going to discuss the QLCS. I'm sure you've heard us use the term when we're talking about severe weather coverage because we see them quite often here in Northwest Arkansas. Let's start off with an example from the not too distant past, October 20th to 21st of 2019. Does that date ring a bell? It should. That was the date of the Rogers tornado. We had a QLCS come into town, and we ended up with multiple tornadoes in Siloam Springs and then EF2 in Rogers. And we have severe thunderstorm warnings all along the line. We have hail reports and tornado warnings. So these storms mean business when they roll into town. What is a QLCS? It is a quasi-linear convective system. So that is what a QLCS stands for. And to break that down into simpler terms, it's a group of storms that are arranged in an apparent line. So we have a group of storms arranged in what looks like a line. Basically is how you can break down what a QLCS is. We love our acronyms in meteorology. There's also two types. And another term that you can use to describe a QLCS is a squall line. So we have a serial squall line and a progressive squall line, and both form in similar situations, but they do have some differences. So let's go ahead and detail those for you. We'll start off with the progressive squall line. We have a stalled out frontal boundary. Storms are going to fire along that, but the wind direction is actually going to be from behind the storms. So you start to get this bowing out of the storms as they move along the boundary. So that is a progressive squall line. Now, the one that we saw back on October 20th to 21st was a serial squall line. This one, you have the mean wind direction blowing from basically the southwest along parallel to the boundary. But in this case, we have a stalled out frontal boundary, but we also have our cold front. And so with that wind direction blowing along the cold front, you get a broken line of storms. And you can see that it also forms what are called line echo wave patterns or loops. Like I said, we love our acronyms here in meteorology. And these broken lines of storms, that's where you have to watch out for those quick spin up tornadoes. Well, we already mentioned tornadoes is one of the threats, but what are the other threats? Damaging wind. You can see wind gusts in excess of 70 to 80 miles an hour, especially if we get a progressive squall line to form and move through the area. You can get quick spin-up tornadoes, as we saw on October 20th to 21st, and you can also see damaging hail from these, about an inch in diameter or even greater than that, possibly with some of the stronger cells. Well, I hope you learned a lot about QLCSs in this episode of Weather Word of the Week. To find future ones, head to our website, knwa.com, click on the Weather tab, and click on Weather Word of the Week. We'll see you next time.